guys, how's it going? It's Al. We are going to go over some players that I do not think you should draft this year. We're avoiding these players, and the way that I'm going to be doing this is not just arbitrarily picking players. I'm locking myself into basically the first half of draft, and I'm going to pick a player in every single round except round one, because like it's round one and they're all superstars, and like there's no way to be right unless somebody gets hurt. So we're going to go from round 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to go pick players from all of those different rounds that I think you should be passing over and avoiding for a bunch of other better players around those same similar ADPs as of right now. Now, these ADPs, it's only July the 31st. So ADPs are going to be subject to change. You may not be able to get that player. They may have moved up. They may move down as news or injuries or everything starts to happen through training camp. Everything is kind of a fluid situation in fantasy football and fantasy football drafts. So allow me a little leeway. These are players that I personally am not drafting. If you like them, draft whoever you like. But these are players that I'm personally avoiding in every single round in the first half of fantasy football drafts in 2023. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and hit me with a reply down below with a player that you're avoiding in 2023. And let's go.
He's a legend.
If you're playing best ball in 2023, that's pretty likely that you know about Underdog Fantasy. But in case you don't have an account, make sure that you use that promo code Smizzle. That's all one word, ALSMIZZLE. And you get up to a $100 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site that you can use on any one of their fantastic best ball drafts, the tournaments, the sit and goes, or you can now draft season long pick'em fantasy cards, just like this one. So we're going to play a three correct pays 6x. I'm gonna do it for $50. Picked a few running backs for this video. Cam Akers, over 750.5 rushing yards. With the amount of volume that I think he's going to get this season, he should easily eclipse that mark. Obviously, we're betting overs or higher. Lowers give you more outs. It's the sharper play, but we're not about being sharp. I want to be a fantastic donkey and cheer for good things. I don't want punts and field goals. I definitely don't want to root for injury. So we're going to Travis Etienne, over 6.5 rushing touchdowns. Miles Sanders, over 1/2 of a receiving touchdown. Higher than that. If we get all three right by the end of the season, we'll check back in January and see if we won. Make sure that you start your account on Underdog today, and make sure that you take advantage of the $100 deposit bonus match on your first deposit to the site. We'll submit this for $50. Yes, confirm. It's just that easy. We'll check back. It's like fantasy football Keno. And we'll see if we won, I don't know, in January. In the second round, as I said, I'm not picking a first rounder. Now look, his ADP is 18.3. There was some drama, trepidation that happened over the weekend in Indianapolis between Jonathan Taylor and owner Irsay that has now made this the obvious choice for a do not draft. But I filled out the thing. I promise I did the script for this before that news came out. The news just absolutely solidifies the fact that I do not want to draft Jonathan Taylor, because I'm not sure, A, that this is going to be a very, very good offense. B, they do have a rookie quarterback, and rookie quarterbacks do tend to not run offenses efficiently and score a bunch of touchdowns in year one unless their name is Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, or Justin Herbert. Right? Rookie-led offenses don't tend to do well. If you listen to the Late Round podcast by friend of the show, JJ Zacharyson, he did a whole episode on the effect of rookie quarterbacks on offenses and their efficiency and their pass catchers and everything else. So all you have to do is listen to that episode, if you don't want to believe me, to understand the effect that they have on all pieces of an offense, specifically wide receivers. But considering that the rookie quarterback in this situation, and Richardson, is a running quarterback, a Cam Newton-ish running quarterback who could vulture a lot of touchdowns away from somebody like Jonathan Taylor, outside of the issues that he's having with management right now on this team, demanding a trade, them saying, well, he's got a back injury and he sustained it outside the facility, so we don't even have to like pay him. This is going to get really ugly, and it's made it very solid that I don't want to draft Jonathan Taylor. And now he's probably going to slide out of the second round. But up until now, I have not been spending any of my second round picks on JT. I've been typically going for a wide receiver, or if I drafted somebody like AJ Brown or Travis Kelce in the first round, I'm probably matching them with their quarterback in the second to get that easy, instant, elite quarterback stack. Next round, Josh Jacobs. Again, this is before the contract problems. It's definitely during the contract problems. An ADP of 30.2 right now, and I want no part of Josh Jacobs in this offense with the situations that they have. They're just better, safer picks in the third round with similar upside. People are drafting Josh Jacobs hoping for the same situation and outcomes that he had last year when we caught lightning in a bottle, averaged 20.4 fantasy points per game. He was a monster, and he was a monster all season long, especially if you look at his game logs. He's going to get similar volume if he actually shows up to play. He doesn't have to. Obviously, he's in a different situation with not signing his franchise deal. He left Las Vegas. He is not there in town. If you think that this is too easy a pick in the third round to not want to draft Josh Jacobs, I'll give you another one. This is going to hurt some feelings. I apologize to you if you are all up in your feelings right now when I say I'm not drafting Breece Hall in the third round. Now, look, I think Breece Hall is amazing. I really, really do. But I tend to not draft running backs in their first year back from a knee injury. The team is telling you so many things in such a loud voice that they are not going to be giving Breece Hall the amount of volume, or that he is not going to be ready in the first half of the season. They are trying to bring in any running back that's available. Dalvin Cook was there the other day, and the crowd was chanting Dalvin Cook. If they do sign somebody, if they do, Breece Hall ain't getting the volume. He might get 50%. Maybe he gets it in the second half of the season. You're like, well, I'm going to draft him. I'll take the 30 to 40% of the snaps early, and then when he gets healthy in the second half of the season, I'll bust out. Think about how recent running backs, and look, there's been great technology upgrades and changes in surgical recovery and physical therapy and everything else. But look at the running backs who come back from an ACL that first year. They're not the same guy. The burst, the explosiveness, all of that stuff is not there. It's just not. Now, he's going to have a couple of big games probably this year if he is hopefully back, and I'm never rooting for injury, but I don't have to draft a guy who's coming off of an injury in that first year. Think Cam Akers in his first year back from that Achilles tear. Think about Dobbins in his return from injury. They're not the same guy until that year two out. They can come in and play, but they're not going to have the same explosiveness, not going to have the same efficiency. And right now they're telling you they're definitely not going to give Breece Hall the volume. So if I'm going to go after somebody in that third round, let's take a look at the running backs that are being drafted around him in the third round here on Underdog right now. If you've got Breece Hall in here and Josh Jacobs right here, right next to each other, Jahmyr Gibbs at 36, Ramondre Stevenson 27, Derrick Henry fell to me in the third round on DraftKings the other day. You could avoid that and go with a wide receiver in that range, in the same sort of an ADP range. I would much rather have any of these other players around them. Calvin Ridley, DK Metcalf, Cooper, Debo, go for Lamar, Allen. Any of these guys are more palatable to me than he is in that spot. Leading me to my next pick, Jerry Jeudy. Something's off. It's not Jerry Jeudy's fault so much as it is drafters' fault. You got to define what you believe first and foremost. Do you believe that this Denver offense, now that it's out from under Hackett's yoke, are going to take a leap forward with the new coaching staff that's in place? And if they are going to take a leap forward, and if, let's say, Russ Wilson returns to 90% of what he was pre-last year, right? Not even 100% of what he was, which was the second most efficient quarterback in terms of touchdown percentage in the history of the NFL. Let's say he returns to 90% of that, which equates to something like a 5.4 or 5.5% touchdown percentage. That would be awesome, right? Either Jerry Jeudy is being drafted way too high, with his ADP being 39 at the time of recording, or Cortland Sutton with an ADP of 95 is way too low, and Dulcich in the 120s is way too low. So either Judy's got to come down a round or two, or those other guys got to come up a round or two and meet somewhere in the middle, because Jeudy on volume is not that much better than Cortland Sutton. Definitely not much that much better in terms of tight end versus wide receiver point graphs. So Judy's just too expensive at his ADP. It's never about the player. It's not a personal thing. It's always about the price. I'm a price sensitive drafter when it comes to picking these players. If you wanted to correlate week 17 with the Broncos who play against the Chargers, it's very easy. I'd much rather have Mike Williams, who has an ADP like 8 later than Jerry Jeudy in the mid 40s, and then correlate him with Cortland Sutton in the 90s, or Russ Wilson later than that in the 120s, or Dulcich in the 120s, than going after Jerry Jeudy at this price. It's just other players in that same range that I think have a higher expectation. And if you needed Denver Bronco access or allocation to go with either a Russ Wilson stack or a secondary bring back stack with some Chargers for week 17, Jerry Jeudy's just he's in a void for me, at least at this current price point. DJ Moore is another player who I love on the field, but I don't like for fantasy. And this one's a tough one for me because I have been on team Justin Fields from jump. I think Justin Fields is actually good. I was saying Justin Fields was actually good long before when everybody was convinced that Justin Fields was actually bad. I think that DJ Moore makes Justin Fields better. I think he improves his efficiency. I think he slides other players down in terms of that wide receiver room into more appropriate roles for an NFL offense. DJ Moore can soak up the number one cornerback and allow guys like Chase Claypool and Mooney and their tight ends to kind of roam around in one-on-one man-to-man coverage or find soft spots in zones where they did not have that before because they had wide receiver threes cosplaying as a wide receiver one. Now they have an actual wide receiver one doing that. But at his current ADP of 47, I don't think he's going to get the volume. That's really the issue. Last year, he got 118 targets. I think he's going to be hard-pressed to match that. I would love to see him exceed it. I want to be wrong about this one, but I feel like the Bears are still going to be a team that throws the ball 20 to 25 times max per game. They're going to try and win games by running the football, not just with their running back room, which is now deeper, even though the absence of David Montgomery last year on this team was not a very efficient running back. They have improved the offensive line. They still have Herbert. They drafted Johnson. They still have Justin Fields running the ball a ton. I think that this is going to be a team that runs the ball, let's say 35 to 40 times per game. They're going to bleed the clock. And it's a lot like when we were avoiding Allen Robinson a couple of years ago when he was coming off of a monster season. This is a volume issue for me. I think DJ Moore makes a big difference to the Bears on the field. I think he's a fantastic NFL player. I currently think that the price is way too high versus what his volume is going to be. And again, if we go over to Underdog and we take a look at the players that are being drafted around where DJ Moore is being drafted, give me Mike Williams, give me DeAndre Hopkins. This is where I'm looking to get an elite quarterback. You can get Justin Fields without having to get DJ Moore stacked with him. Love Jacksonville, would buy Christian Kirk, would buy Brandon Ayuk, or even Kenneth Walker above DJ Moore in this spot. Now, if DJ Moore's price comes down and his ADP falls to 55 or 60, I'd be much more willing to buy him. J.K. Dobbins in his ADP of 60 is next on my do not draft list. It's just somebody that I don't think has the burst anymore, and I think that this team is going to be going away from being a run-first football team. They have shown this for the last year to year and a half that this is not where they're going to hang their hat. They've spent a lot of draft equity and free agent salary cap equity on improving the wide receiver room, something that was vastly lacking on this Baltimore Ravens team in the last couple of years. Signing the corpse of OBJ, he's still fine, but like he's not what he was 5 years ago, but he's still fine. And getting Bateman back, Bateman makes a massive difference to this offense. Still having guys like Mark Andrews, who's an absolute stud, and Isaiah Likely behind him, who is also looking like a fantasy stud at tight end. And the return of Lamar Jackson makes this offense, in my opinion, very tough for J.K. Dobbins, who just didn't have the burst and didn't have the speed last year. Although he had some big games, I think this team is going to be operating through the passing game and moving away from being that run-first team that it was a couple of years ago and had to be when Lamar got hurt last year and then stayed out the rest of the season. So we're in a spot where I don't think J.K. Dobbins is going to get the volume, and I definitely don't think that he is going to get any pass game work, and I really don't think that Lamar Jackson is a bad, where a lot of people are saying, well, he gets injured he got injured too much because he's a running quarterback. He got injured passing the football. It was a drop back. He didn't get injured running. He got injured on a pass play, and somebody kind of rolled up on his ankle. So I think that J.K. Dobbins right now at the price that he's at, I think there are better players to be drafted behind him once we get out of the running back dead zone. If you wanted to check out the zero running back video that I did, there are running backs that are being drafted, let's say 17 to 25 spots behind him that I would prefer, like Rachaad White, like David Montgomery, like other players that are just a little bit cheaper, that have a similar to greater expectation in terms of fantasy outcome and ceiling to me than J.K. Dobbins does. I don't feel like there's very much ceiling in this spot. I think that things go towards another MVP caliber type year for Lamar Jackson. where he's going to be vulturing touchdowns from him, where he's going to be throwing for more touchdowns and throwing more often, where the volume certainly is not there, in my opinion, for J.K. Dobbins. But if you like him, you like him. I don't know everything. Nobody has a crystal ball. I can't see the future. This is my opinion about where I think these guys are. Michael Pittman Jr. Now, the price is coming down. I tweeted something like 2 months ago when he had an ADP in the 4th or 5th round. If you draft Michael Pittman in the 5th round, you're going to have a bad time. Well, right now, his ADP has slid to 68, where like it's starting to get more palatable, right? I have less of an issue with that, especially with the fact that running quarterbacks tend to zero in on one guy based on the way that offenses are run. So his targets could remain in that, let's say, 120 to 150 range. I know that's a wide range for target outcomes, but this is where we're at. Some of that range comes into play with, if Richardson's the quarterback, it's going to end up more on the low end, even though he will soak up a lot of the target market share. There just may not be that big of a pie for him to soak up that if he gets 30% of 20 throws, it's still it ain't that much, right? It's similar to Drake London last year, even though I think Pittman, a more established wide receiver in the NFL than obviously is Drake London yet at this point. But if Richardson isn't the starter and Minshew is, I like Pittman a lot more. So if he falls to like 75, I'll start buying. At 68, I'm not. He is still in a void for me. And the last player on this list, Treylon Burks. ADP at time of recording is 80.6, and it has not fallen enough. The signing of DeAndre Hopkins does a lot for this offense. One, it moves Treylon Burks out of the number 1 spot where he was being drafted well higher than this. He's fallen, but it hasn't corrected enough for me. The difference between having him at pick 80 to 40, consider this. DeAndre Hopkins, the difference between DeAndre Hopkins' ADP and Treylon Burks' ADP is smaller than Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. Who would you rather have this year? Treylon Burks or Cortland Sutton 15 picks later? Let's make it real simple and bring it full circle with the course of this entire video. Treylon Burks is still not a good enough value. He needs to fall past pick 95 for me to even consider him. He is being drafted a round to a round and a half too early. Not somebody that I want to hang my hat on, even in the middle rounds of draft. This is where I'm picking my RB2, RB3, RB4. This is not a quarterback range for me in drafts. I would much rather go after my 0 running back targets. Go check out that video in this range where he's being drafted, because that's where the value is currently. And that could change, because as I said, the fantasy football drafting market is extremely fluid, especially through draft month here in August, with training camp and injuries and tons of news breaks. Once we start playing preseason games, we're going to find out a whole lot more. And eventually we'll see if I'm right or I'm wrong. But I wish you the best in all of your drafts on Underdog, DraftKings, or in your friends and family leagues. Drop a like on the video. Look out for another one right there.
He's a legend.